world-famous Butch and Bob show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup, Big Dog Country Radio. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning.
So you sat out in that heat yesterday in Statesboro and watched some baseball?
Yeah, most people had tents, so I was on the tent. Tried to go in the press box. Thought they had air conditioning, but those poor guys didn't have air conditioning. It was like 92 up in the press box, so that wasn't a good place to
windows? Be. Was it open?
No, it was
open
closed.
Air?
No,
it was closed with no open windows?
They had an air conditioner, but it wasn't working.
It wasn't working.
I was sorry for those poor guys. I said they should get double overtime. They were up there sweating like crazy.
So there's the guys calling the
They were just keeping scores and
stuff like that.
Scorekeepers,
yeah. Poor things. I guess it was a window air conditioning, or do you know?
Yeah, I mean it's closed in. It's up there.
Yeah,
bird's eye view of the field, but.
Yeah, probably a window air conditioning out there like that and just not working. Like I said, the most popular people right now are the air conditioning repairmen. People get big smiles on their face when they see them walk. Please fix this thing. You know, I'm dying here.
I feel sorry for those kids out there in the field, man. It's hard to play in that heat.
I know. You know. All right, here's Betty calling. We'll have Betty Carter on in a minute.
You're tuned to the world-famous Butch and Bob show. Special guest with us is Congressman Buddy Carter. Before we get to the big debate, Buddy, you got some program going where people can have a day with you. Is that correct? I know you want to talk about that.
Take Buddy to Work Day. You know, as y'all know, we're out the month of August, and, you know, that's the tradition that started years ago. It is literally a swamp up here. I mean, the mall area was a swamp at one time, and they you know, we talk about draining the swamp and everything, but they drained it and built over it, but it's still so hot and humid up here. Before air conditioning, they couldn't stand to be up here, so they would always take the month of August off, and we continue to do that, and we'll be out the month of August and the first week of September. And you know what we're doing is starting a program. It's called Take Buddy to Work, and what we are asking people to do is to invite us to your work. And, you know, look, ours is a citizen legislature. I'm a pharmacist, as you know, and there are things that I know about health care. But when you get outside of health care, you know, I need to be educated. And the same thing goes with other members of Congress. And we need to know. I know that when I was in business, I always got frustrated whenever rules and regulations were passed that I felt like, you know, they don't know anything about my business, and here they are passing these rules and regulations. Well, that's what we're trying to achieve here. I want to learn. I want to learn about your business and what it is that you need and how government can help you and how government regulations are impacting you. So that's the idea behind it. But if you go to our website, then you can go to our website. It's buddycarter.house.gov. There's a banner on the top there, and you can click on that banner and request us to come. And during the month of August, the 1st of September, we'll do our best to try to get by and maybe spend the day with you and better understand your business.
And on the phone with us is Buddy Carter. Again, the big debate tonight from Atlanta. Again, much anticipated, kind of historic. It's the earliest debate in any presidential. It's way out before the November election. So your thoughts on what's going to take place tonight?
Well, Bob, I'll tell you, I think this is going to be a very important debate. You know, some people are saying that as much as, or as many as 70% of the voters are going to be tuned into this, watching this. I think it's extremely important. As we all know, there's still a ways to go. So this could set the tone for the rest of the election season, if you will, and it's going to be very important. I think the expectations might be a little lower with this debate as far as the performance of both people go. When you're looking at Joe Biden, I think they're going to want to make sure, first of all, he's got a pulse, but make sure, you know, that cognitively he's with it. And there have been a lot of jokes and a lot of comments made about, he's going to be, he's going to be drugged up or whatever. But nevertheless, you know, people are concerned about his age and about his cognitive abilities. On the other hand, you've got President Trump, and, you know, they're worried about his temperament. And also, you know, he's only 4 years younger than Joe Biden. He has made a couple of gaffes here recently, but I I've talked to him in the last couple of months. I can tell you he's sharp as a tack. There's no question in my mind about that. But nevertheless, I think that the expectations are somewhat low as far as what people are expecting out of both of them. But I hope that what people will do will listen attentively, because it's about policy. It's about policy. That's why elections have consequences, and elections have consequences because policies have consequences. So I hope that they will differentiate and, more on the policies that they're proposing than they will on the personalities. I'm sure that Joe Biden's going to try to make a lot about the trial up in New York and calling President Trump a convicted felon or whatever. I'm sure President Trump, on the other hand, is going to try to make a big deal out of what appears to be the decrease in cognitive ability of Joe Biden. But I hope that we can, and that's important. Both of those things are important. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm just trying to make the point that I feel like policies are more important.
The ground rules are kind of interesting. There's no audience, and they're supposedly the only mic going to be on is the person that's talking. So, like I said, Trump, he likes to talk all the time. So how do you think that's going to work?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it works. I talked to Trump people about this and on his campaign team in Georgia, and they said that essentially he was just wanting to agree with anything. He just wants to get on stage with Joe Biden. And that's why they agreed to this. It's not the best setting, I think. If the President Trump had his way, he would have probably wanted a different setting. But, after the experiences of the debates in 2020 where President Trump was talking over Joe Biden a lot, I think that, the networks decided this would be the best way to do it. I don't like the format myself. I think that, even when some of the presidents, I remember Barack Obama, when he was president, he would give an address over the radio, but he'd still have an audience there. He'd still have like 20 or 30 people. And for me, and I think for a lot of public speakers, you tend to relax a little bit more when you got people there. So it'll be interesting to see how this format plays out.
At one point it said it probably won't make a difference either way. Most people in Trump's camp are with Trump, and those with Biden were Biden. So do you see it? I'm sure there's some swing voters out there that it may have a difference on, but your thoughts on, also there's speculation that Trump may announce who his presidential or vice presidential candidate is going to be. Have any insight on that?
There is a lot of talk about that, and he has said that he has made up his mind. He didn't necessarily say he was going to go ahead and say who it is before the convention, but conventional wisdom up here has it down to about 3 people. It's either J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or Doug Burgum. Tim Scott still gets a lot of attention, and it's kind of who do you hope it is or who do you think it's going to be? I hope it's Tim Scott. I think Marco Rubio would be good as well. I kind of think it's going to be Doug Burgum, to be quite honest with you. But, we'll find out. I do think that I don't think that a vice presidential candidate necessarily helps you, but I think it can hurt you. And I think the president realizes that. For President Trump tonight, I think it's going to be very important for him to appeal to swing voters. There's something else to think about, too, and that's the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Factor that comes into this. I was reading something this morning that said that probably at this point, 80% of the voters are going to vote for either Joe Biden or Donald Trump, whereas in 2020 that number was higher. So, as we found out when Bill Clinton got first elected, and Ross Perot, a third-party candidate, sometimes can have an impact on a race, and that might be the case here as well. So that's why it's important for both of these candidates to appeal to those swing voters.
It's definitely going to be must-see TV. Again, a lot of people interested in the debate, but I said, like you mentioned, the format's kind of strange. No audience, so there's not going to be much reaction at all. And the Trump's kind of on enemy territory. He's not a big fan of CNN. I understand he's not in favor of the two moderators as well, so should be interesting how it goes. So if you were advising him, like I said, most people I see on TV say that, he needs to keep his composure and not get crazy. So you think that's possible? I mean, if they hit a nerve?
First of all, I don't advise President Trump. I don't think anybody does. But
you said you talked to him. I thought you might give us some good advice.
That his temperament will be steady. I hope that, because, Bob, I'm just convinced he's right on policy. And I mean, think about it. Think about, 4 years ago, what was the price of gasoline? 4 years ago, what was the price of groceries? 4 years ago, you could afford a house. You could afford to rent. All that's changed now. 4 years ago, we had the most secure border we've ever had. Now we've got a border that is in shambles. It's a disaster. So to me, again, we have to concentrate on policies. I really feel like we were much better under Donald Trump's policies than we are under Joe Biden's policies. And at the end of the day, I think that's what people are going to look at.
One other question I want to ask you. One news event that took place didn't get a lot of attention, not a lot of media. I mean, they covered it, but it wasn't really talked about much. But I want to get your thoughts. Vladimir Putin flew over to South Korea to meet with Kim Jong-un, and they had a big, North Korea, I'm sorry to say. I want to get your thoughts on that. There was a big display of military might, but I guess Putin was over there trying to get money for Ukraine.
I'm concerned about what's going on in the world stage. That's another thing. We just mentioned, or I just mentioned about the border, about the economy, but the world stage too. I think the world is a lot less safe and a lot more dangerous now than it was 4 years ago when Donald Trump was in office. And that's certainly something that we have to be concerned about. The axis of evil that appears to be evolving now with North Korea, with Russia, with China. All of that is extremely important. And again, I felt safer 4 years ago in the world than I do now. With I don't think America is respected like we were 4 years ago, and I think that's a result of the President of the United States, the leader of the free world. And I don't think that people, those countries, are respecting Joe Biden like they respected Donald Trump. I mean, it's like they didn't know what Donald Trump was going to do. I mean, and that little bit of fear factor, I think, went a long ways.
Again, buddy, always good talking to you. Like I said, as a former NFL player, used to say, get your popcorn ready. So, must TV tonight. I'm sure everybody's going to be tuned in, and it's going to be fun to watch all the pundits afterwards to get their takes. But one question about the debate, as you mentioned, Biden's age is a big factor, and a lot of people are saying they've set the bar so low, so if he just shows up and does a decent job, he comes through with flying colors, I guess. So your thoughts on that, the fact that they set the bar so low?
Because the expectations are low. I think they're low. As far as what Biden's performance might be tonight, I think they're kind of low on what Trump's temperament might be tonight. Look, there are a lot of haters out there. There are a lot of people who don't like either candidate and are sitting there wondering, 340 million people in this country. Are you kidding me? These two? And I get that. And there are double haters. I mean, they don't like either one of them. And so, I hope as a country we don't accept that. I think it's about, with Donald Trump, I think it's about tone. I think if his tone is good, then I think he's going to do great. I've always said, right on policy, wrong on tone. And I think if his tone is good, I think he's going to do great. As far as Joe Biden goes, I'm just not convinced that the man physically, mentally is up to the job of being holding the most important position in the world, and that is President of the United States.
Again, buddy, we appreciate you being with us on the show. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thank y'all very much. Always a pleasure.
Look it up.
All right, take care, buddy. All right, Congressman Buddy Carter here on Big Dog Country Radio, WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup. It will be an interesting, very interesting debate tonight.
It's going to be must-see TV, and everybody's talking about it. Should be fun, but it's going to be interesting without no audience at all. Like
no audience and Trump muffled.
And like I said, Trump doesn't like the two moderators at all, so it'll be interesting how that goes and how they. It's just going to be, like I said, must-see TV.
It's going to be interesting to see if they ask the same questions to both guys. I know there's going to be some different questions because you got to do that as a reporter, but you can't. Hopefully they will be as neutral as possible. I know it's hard for reporters at CNN, and so hopefully they'll be neutral and be able to ask questions. And I think it ought to be, they talk about as Congressman Buddy Carter was there, you got the two different personalities there, you got two different people, but it comes down to policy because it comes down to what policies you want to implement. Trump wants to secure the border like he had it. He wants to do other things to try to keep taxes. Basically, the Republican platform of less government, less taxes, believe more in the individual than government, and where you got the other side who you see them expand government. They've opened up the border. They've expanded on different things that will allow that happen in the country. And so people have different opinions on that kind of stuff, and it will come down to policy. And one thing we didn't talk about this morning, in the next 4 years, there's going to be at least two, more than likely two, Supreme Court justices that are going to probably be appointed. And, Trump's going to put in the names of people who are conservative, moderate, and then Biden, as you can see, and the ones that he's put on there have been extremely liberal. So. And that makes a big difference there, as we've seen some of these rulings that the court has done in the last couple of years.
Buddy made a good point. There's a lot of double haters out there that just don't want either one of these candidates. So
there's a lot of folks like that.
So the question is, will they show up and vote in November, or will they just stay away? And so
that's the reason why you think, if you're one of those type of people, you take a look. What do I believe? Okay, do I believe in the Republican platform or do I believe in the Democratic platform? If you can't, if you can't stand either guy, you go in there and you vote. You're holding your nose, because you don't like either one of them. Then you go for policy. What do you believe in? And it'll come down to about 20% of the population because, as we've talked about before, about 40% of the population today, they are diehard Democrat. They're going to vote it every time. There's about 40% that are diehard Republican. They're not going to vote for anybody but that. That's that 20% in there that they vote on personality, on the person, more than they do policy.
Both these guys are up in age. The nighttime comedians are having a field day with the age jokes. Jimmy Fallon said put them both in a hammock and see who can get out first. That's the person that wins. It's just, it's just, they're up there in age for sure.
It's amazing.
And you just wonder, you ask, even, like Buddy said, even Trump's had some gaffes, you just wonder what they're. But it'll be interesting how they perform tonight. But like I said, to me, it's must-see TV. Get your popcorn ready. It's going to be fun to see how it all plays out. But it's going to be interesting with that formula. Like I said, CNN showed how it's going to work, with the microphones turned off.
Mm-hmm.
They try to get. But I see both of them still trying to talk when the microphone's turned off. So it's going to be fun to see how that all plays out tonight.
Yeah,
must-see TV. Like I said, early debate. It was one of the earliest debates ever. As far as time-wise. So,
and both of them wanted it. And Biden wanted it because he wanted to show the fact that he could be in debate. But I remember back in the 80s when President Reagan ran for re-election. So he was 69 when he was my age right now. 69 when he was elected originally in 1980. And then you add 4 years from now. So he was 73 when he ran, again, still younger than both of these guys are. And then people were talking about his mental situation. In that first debate against whoever I can't remember who the person was that he ran against. I'm not sure if it's Mandela. I can't remember who it was, but on the second time he was elected on his re-election, in that first debate, he made some gaffles. He made some situations. That wasn't like Reagan. Reagan, was always very sharp in his mind, quick with jokes, and all that kind of stuff. But I got his book, the Reagan book, and he was talking about after in that first debate, his staff filled him with so many facts and figures and opinions that they just inundated his brain with all this. And when he got up there, his brain was kind of like filled with all this stuff. And so it did look that way in a couple situations during that debate where people say, is he mentally still able to be president? But they came back in the second debate, and he was the President Reagan sharp, the quick jokes, the good policy points and stuff, just like Reagan is, though. They've been having Biden locked up away for over a week now. They're at Camp David trying to fill him with all this stuff, and they're going to. And of course, Biden's going to come out with some. I'm sure the writers have written some the sharp comebacks and liners and stuff like that. You always see that in debates. The lines that get quoted over and over again. So I'm sure they've been working on that. So. Which is the best way to prepare? Do you prepare like Reagan did on his second debate instead of the first one? Or do you you got two different people here. You got Trump, who's still out there campaigning, who's doing a little bit of prep, and you got Biden, who's been away at Camp David for several days now, being prepped and practicing every single day. So we'll see which way works and who's, one comes across better than the other one tonight.
It's going to be fun. Looking forward to it.
Yep, yeah, that's going to be interesting tonight. And will it sway any votes in any type of way? That's the folks, that's that 20% that vote for the person, the personality, than they do the policy of the party that person represents. And so we'll see what happens. It's always amazing when you've got states that'll vote one way for when the Republicans wins, and then next time they'll vote and the Democrat will win. Two different national policies, two different ways they look at the way government should be and implemented, but still folks will vote for either one because they like that person or they dislike the other one. And the ads that you see running right now for Trump and for Biden are not, look what I've done. It's putting fear and doubt in a person's mind about their opposition. Biden's campaign is putting fear and doubt in folks' minds about Trump. You see him there in the jail being, in the courthouse being walked out, and they've got Biden with his gaffles and things that he's done and so forth like that, and policies, and people fall for that. They fall because fear is one of the biggest motivators out there. So, person, I just can't vote for that guy. Look at you've seen those ads for 3-4 months, cutting down that other person. And it's such a shame because they can put anything they want in those ads and don't necessarily have to be telling the truth or twisted it in some sort of way. So I think it should do like Buddy Carter said, vote for policy. That's really what's going to be done is policy more than it is the personality of the person. So you're going to be at home watching that tonight, Bob?
Yeah, as soon as I get out of that chamber event.
The chamber event tonight out there at the barn on Lanesbridge Road.
I'm sure they know that everybody's dying to get home to watch the debate, so I'm sure they're moving along quickly. But we'll be on hand for that. Looking forward. I've never been to the barn, so looking forward to that.
Like it. I've never been in it, but I've seen it from the outside.
Everybody tells me it's a very nice place, so looking forward to seeing it. So looking forward to the event tonight, 6 o'clock out there at the barn, and see who wins the awards and passing the gavel. We'll have all that for tomorrow here on the local news, have all the award winners.
And we do want to emphasize one more time that we got hit by lightning late yesterday afternoon, so we have no internet. We have no phones. Our audio board and audio processor were hit, and so we don't sound very good on the air right now. And so things are a little different for a couple of days today and tomorrow until we get everything kind of fixed up. So just bear with us, folks, and we should be back to normal in about 3-4 days from now, okay? All right, Bob, have a good day.